shout out to Miss Candace Owens. She's going to be covering this. We just going to, you know how we do here at the King's Table, conversations and reviews. So I'm going to let her shine some light on some things. And then I got a few points to make. Then the spirits of the universe going to take us home. So
not fashionable to say, definitely not fashionable to say over the last 10 years as we've moved toward this female power mirage. I call it a mirage because females have had power, obviously, over the last 2 decades. We've had more than just a little bit of power. I believe that we are fully existing under a matriarchy, and I've made that argument to you guys many times in the past. And elements of the matriarchy is destroying things that are traditional, destroying things that work, and in the end, destroying things that actually make women happy, aspiring to marriage, aspiring to family, looking down on that with your nose. Oh my gosh. Don't you just want to be a free woman? You don't need no man. Where my single ladies at? We all know the dance. We all know the song. It was a great song, by the way. Just probably should mention that Beyonce wasn't a single lady when she wrote it. That's what I love about Beyonce. She makes all of this music. It's super catchy and it's amazing, and women feel empowered by it. The truth is that she's in a very traditional relationship with her husband.
She has a man.
You know, she teaches others to do what she's not doing herself because she wants to be fulfilled. She's happy in a relationship. Well, I'm bringing this up right now because a woman who I wasn't familiar with, her name is Samantha Lee, went on a podcast that I'm not familiar with called the Hardly Initiated Podcast. And she was talking about her 3-year marriage to an R&B singer who I used to listen to very much when I was growing up, named Tyrese Gibson. So they were only married for 3 years, and then their marriage fell apart. And then they spent the next 2 years getting divorced. Apparently, it was an ugly situation. Now she's reflecting on that, and she has a little bit of regret. Take a listen.
If I had different people in my ear at that time, I would not have made that decision. No.
Why would you allow to have different people in your ear? We're going to dive into these things. Why would you allow different people to be in your ear telling you what the fuck to do in your marriage? This is why I say, ladies, you have to be careful of who you talk to, who gives you advice. If a woman has never been married or is not married, who in that blue face hell is her to give you advice? And you're married.
Didn't have in that moment. Women specifically, there will be moments where they'll be like, I'm ready to be done. I'm ready to be done. I'm ready to be done. I can't stand this. He don't do this. He don't do that. Blah, 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 blah. And we're just focusing on these things. You don't have a certain person in your life to check you and say, sis, what about this? What about this? What about these strengths? What about what he's not doing? That can get you thinking about the positive aspects of this person that you may not be thinking about when you're upset. In those moments, you need somebody to be the person for that person.
Now, obviously, this is not an overtly political podcast that you're listening to. It's probably not political at all, but it made me think about politics because I always speak about really what happens if you follow liberal ideologies, right? If you buy into feminism when you're young and it carries on for too long. And what she's talking about, I know exactly what climate she's speaking of. It is women when they get toxic and they are with one another and they think that their life is going to live forever, that they need to aspire to be by themselves, climb, the career ladder, that the aspiration shouldn't be family. It should be being bad all by yourself. You got it. You got money in the bank. You don't need no man.
The same stuff that we see on social media, that social media rhythm of road bullshit that we see. And you lean in with something, you lean in with the wrong intentions. Okay? You lean in with the wrong intentions, but then you have to, when it comes to marriage, you have to have those hard conversations. When it comes to having children, you have to have those hard conversations. When it comes to dating in a relationship, period. You have to be willing to have those hard conversations. A large number of individuals are not trying to have those hard conversations. Man, she got a fat ass. Man, she look good. She this. Oh, girl, he's sexy. He's handsome. He has this. He has that. All that shit is material stuff. What value do you have to bring to the table? What value do you have to bring to the relationship other than your finances, your status, the way you look? Are you bringing substance? Are you bringing peace? Are you bringing love? Are you bringing stability? What value? Why should I marry you? What have you done for me lately?
And these are the sorts of women that were in her tribe. I'm going to guess largely liberal women who were listening to the liberal messaging that's coming from the mainstream media. So
No. Let's call it out, Miss Candace Owens. Let's call it out. She was listening. She had some ratchet dumbasses in her ear. Those that can't keep a man, those that are of low value. Let's call that thing out. See, this is the thing. We got to be willing to call that thing out. This is that hard conversation folk don't want to have because it exposes accountability. It exposes them. It exposes their method. It exposes their motives. No, we're going to call that thing out. Tyrese Gibson did not deserve to go through that. You mean to tell me 3 years of marriage and you self-sabotage and fucked it up? But I can't talk, though, because I was married for 14 months before my ex-wife fucked up the marriage. Let's go. This shit pissed me off because I don't like to see good people get done dirty. I really don't. Especially our good black men.
Her working on her marriage. I mean, 3 years, she should be in the honeymoon phase. She was listening to her girlfriends who are making her feel empowered. She's in her 20s and basically telling her, you don't need a man. And of course, the difference between your life and your prospects from your 20s as a young woman, then when you turn the chapter and go into your 30s, it's dramatic. The differences are quite dramatic. And I try to explain this to the young women that listen to me. I get it. I was in my 20s too. You feel like every day is so long, you're going to be young forever, and you don't have to focus on those sorts of things. But 30 will smack you in the face. It's a different ballgame, totally different ballgame. And, you know, there's this call to settle down and to have a family. And now that she's in her early 30s, she's recognizing that she achieved that and then turned it down. Now, Tyrese Gibson saw this clip making the rounds, and he responded to it. Take a listen to what he had to say.
And you packed up a 1-year-old, put a COVID mask on top of the Ring cameras, and I was literally in an airplane on my way home to fight for my marriage and my family. You're heartless.
She knew what her intentions was. And now you're this social media influencer giving out all these advice. Motherfucker, you can't take your own damn advice. You are a toxic, narcissist woman.
Sense a little bit of animosity there. He certainly hasn't forgiven her. Who would, if that's really what happened? He goes on to talk about how they were not in an abusive relationship. There was nothing there that would make her want to pack up everything and put a COVID mask on a camera and leave with his 1-year-old child, other than the fact that she had women in her ear, other than the fact that she was likely poisoned by culture to believe that this was her moment. This was her Beyonce music video moment, and she was going to show how she could do bad all by herself.
Another question that I oppose too, what was your childhood like? What things did you see growing up? What things happened to you as a child growing up? The reason why I ask these questions is because it gives me a better understanding of how you move as an adult.
Lesson there really is, and it's one that I talk about all the time, that I speak about all the time, rather, when I speak to young women on these college campuses. Pay attention to these cultural examples. Pay attention to the women that make you feel empowered when you're listening to their music. You know, Taylor Swift, everybody loves Taylor Swift except for me. Beyonce, everybody loves Beyonce. And then actually focus on their lives and see whether or not their music is reflecting their lives. And if it is reflecting their lives, is it reflecting their lives in a positive manner, right? When you look at them, do you actually believe that these individuals are happy and whether they're whole?
But they're not really living their lifestyle. They're something totally different off camera. And that's what these modern feminist women don't get. You know, when they're on camera and doing their music, they're one way, but they're a totally different way off camera. You know, I can name Cardi B. I mean, the list goes on. Rihanna, the list goes on. Yeah, they putting out some good music to cater to that crowd. But behind closed doors, they are not living out what they're putting out in their music.
Young women like to hear these sorts of tunes, but if it's conditioning you to believe that freedom is somehow going to render you happier, you are going to be sorely mistaken as you get older, right? Because actually it's discipline that renders you freer, right? It's doing the same thing day in and day out, putting the work where you are, watering the grass where you stand, that is going to make you happier in the future. So I just wanted to make sure that all the young women were paying attention to that, because it's an important cultural story, an important cultural message, and that's all I'm going to say about it.
Men, be careful. You better know who the hell you marrying. And if you do got assets, get that handled. Get that handled. My assets are not in my name. My assets are in someone else's name, and I'm going to leave it at that. I know I'm good. We don't need no prenup, because I know the moment you try to gun for me, you ain't getting nothing, because I ain't got nothing. Take that with you and go be great. Peace, one love.